Welcome back. Despite what the polls said leading up to this election, there's only one set of numbers that matter, and that is the Electoral College. Donald Trump went well past the 270 needed to win. He will now become our 45th president of the United States. He is the first never to serve in political office before or in the military prior to his election. Trump is also the oldest president we have ever elected at age 70 years old. What is he doing in terms of bringing as an outsider perspective that has rallied against the Washington establishment and his years of business experience that made him a billionaire? Joining us for more on the Republican wave that swept our presidential, state, and local elections is Zach Anderson, the politics editor for the Sarasota Herald Tribune, Kevin Griffith, the vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party, and Joe Gruters, I'm going to take a breath now, who decisively won his race for Florida House District 73 last night. He also served as co-chairperson for Donald Trump's Florida campaign. In addition, he is the chairman of the Republican Party of Sarasota and the vice chair of the state Republican Party, and by the way, on the board of trustees for FSU, which I see you're wearing their colors. Well, congratulations, young man.
It was an absolute terrific night for Republicans in Sarasota County. I mean, I did not expect the turnout the way it ended, with a 26,000 vote margin at the top of the ticket. And what it really has shown over the last 8 years, from 2008, we started at 211 votes. 2012 moved to 15,000 votes. The last night, 26,000 vote margin. Sarasota is becoming a more of a solid red community, and it's shown by all the down ticket races where we've really absolutely annihilated our Democrat opponents.
So Democratic opponents. Kevin, what went wrong?
Turnout, as Joe said, and frankly, turnout in the south part of the county. I will note, though, that the Republican Party of Sarasota put out a slate card where on the amendments they said no to all the amendments. Yet, if you recall, the medical marijuana amendment passed with 70%. The amendment for the tax exemption for police and firefighter who are injured on the job passed with 80%, and yet the Republican Party, I don't know why, maybe Joe can explain why, opposed that, as well as senior citizens. So on the issues, it's a little frustrating, frankly, for the Democrats, because I think on the issues they feel like they were there, but the voters weren't.
Zach, is this a function of the Republican Party, local Republicans doing everything right and the Democrats doing everything wrong, or is this a matter of something that was a wave that really swept the nation and has nothing to do with how good the local parties were?
On the local level, I think a lot of it had to do with, Trump has a lot of appeal locally. He did very well amongst white voters. This is an extremely not diverse region. It's an extremely white region. He did very well in Southwest Florida in more conservative areas with older voters. So I think this area was particularly good for Trump, but he did good in Florida as well. He beat Obama's margin of victory in 2012. So I think a lot of it was Trump. I think the local Democrats, they had some candidates who kind of flamed out or didn't really raise enough money, so there's some blame there as well.
We've been talking for months about the vaunted ground game, and we kept talking, forever about how well organized the Clinton campaign, how high-tech they were. They had their databases and models, and how problematic or lacking the Trump ground campaign was. Does this even matter?
Well, at the end of the day, the Republican Party of Sarasota and our combined efforts with the parties, we had 5 headquarters opened in Sarasota County. I have no idea what the Democrats had, but we were ready. We had phone calls being made, doors being walked on, and really all campaigns, the Rubio campaign and the Trump campaign were separated a little bit at the beginning, but ultimately what happened is they coordinated their efforts. They were making calls on behalf of the entire ticket. And what happens is what the party's role is, what the Republican Party, there's no question that Donald Trump deserves. This is a movement. He deserves all the credit. He's almost like a one-man campaigning machine that was able to lead that. But the Republican Party of Sarasota did a great job at turning out the vote, and that's what our jobs is to get out the vote and get our voters to turn out.
I mean, does a ground game matter?
I think that Trump really raised some serious questions about that. I mean, there is no question that Trump's ground game was not as strong as Clinton's. Clinton had a more of a paid staff. She had way more offices, but Trump had the enthusiasm, and enthusiasm does matter. You know, people were energetic to come out. You go to these rallies, and his rallies were boisterous affairs, and so I think that really benefited him, and his command of the media really benefited him.
Kevin, you know, in the last couple of weeks, the gut punch in terms of the FBI letter to Congress, did that take a lot of the air out of the balloon, or do you think this would have happened anyway?
I think it hurt her. It hurt her. In Sarasota County, Hillary Clinton performed 4 points less than Obama did in 2012. Some Democrats didn't turn out. But I will have to say, it's the south part of the county, and it was Republicans who came out, or people who affiliated with the Republicans, and they voted down ticket, as Joe had mentioned. And it's frustrating for us because we had a machine. We knocked on doors.
Right.
We made 30,000 calls in 7 days.
And quickly, you thought that Sarasota Republicans were more moderate in nature and would turn away from Donald Trump.
The hospital board race is the one that surprised me because we put money in. We went to Northport and said, hey, Northport, you want a hospital? These 5 candidates want a hospital. The Republicans don't, and they only outperformed Hillary by 2 or 3 points.
All right, let's just take a pause there, and we'll have much more with our roundtable coming up. But first, we'll have a check with our full weather forecast. Welcome back. The 2016 election has gone to the Republicans across the nation and here on the Suncoast. Joining us tonight on our roundtable is Zach Anderson, politics editor for the Sarasota Herald Tribune, Kevin Griffith, vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party, and Joe Gruters, who won Florida's House District 73 seat. He also served as co-chair of Trump's Florida campaign and is also the chair of the Republican Party of Sarasota County. Kevin and Joe, I'm going to be asking you both tough questions, but Kevin, I'm going to start with you. Where do Sarasota Democrats go from here?
It's not a tough question. I know the answer. Nonpartisan races, first of all. We tend to succeed in nonpartisan races, and if you look at the city of Sarasota, we have all 5 Democrats there. If you look at school board races, we tend to be successful there. Those are nonpartisan races. The other cities, Northport and Venice, we're going to start to play, and judge races.
But it doesn't seem that Democrats right now have an ability to win anything county-wide.
Well, Barbara Ford Coates actually got more votes than Donald Trump, so I don't see that as actually true. But you make a good point. The Democrats to win are going to have to go talk to Republicans and nonpartisan affiliated voters about issues. And on issues like traffic and overdevelopment in the environment, as well as medical marijuana and some of these other issues, that's the frustrating part. The Democrats were with the voters on some of these issues, and the Republicans weren't, but it didn't translate into victories.
Right now, people are not looking past R or D.
Correct, and it's a burden on the Democrats, but we're not giving up. We're here, and it's about ideas, and we're going to continue to fight.
And the problem with focusing on nonpartisan races, though, is why not make them partisan? You know, because what they're doing is they're hiding, trying to trick people to pretend like there's no R or D. But at the end of the day, people join a party because they believe in the core principles of that party. So to be able to go out there and say that I'm going to go help candidates, specifically nonpartisan races, is unfortunate. And I will continue to do my best to try to keep parties out of nonpartisan races.
There is no such thing as nonpartisan races anymore. I don't care if it is a city council, commission, or school board or whatever. I think people basically know who they are.
As long as we have the attitude like that, we won't have nonpartisan races. But
it is the reality.
I have extended the truce twice to the last 2 chairmen. They've rejected him. So we'll continue to beat those Democrats in nonpartisan races as well.
Joe mentioned some tough numbers for Democrats earlier. Obama lost Sarasota County by 211 votes. Romney lost it by about 15,000 votes. Trump lost it by nearly 30,000 votes. So they're going in the wrong direction. Democrats face a really tough chance right now of winning anything countywide. Their best hope is at the city level. That's really where they can kind of take heart that they have the whole Sarasota City Commission and some other city commission seats. But you have to wonder, you know, they raised a bunch of money. They put up a slate at the lower levels. I think there was some national forces that were working against them, but it was really a bit of a dispiriting year for them.
Do you see any possibility in the near future of that turning around?
I really don't. I mean, the best opportunities that they had were back when there were Democratic wave years in 2006 and 2008, and they rode those, and people like Keith Fitzgerald got elected. I don't see in this area with the demographics and the way the partisan breakdown is, that unless they have a pretty good push at the national level in a presidential year, or a really good candidate, which Edward James seemed to be from the start, but then obviously he had some things that came out that kind of sidetracked his campaign. So I think that those are the only two opportunities they really have to win something like that.
2 points. Even if that did not happen, I don't know if Ed James.
Yeah, the numbers probably weren't there for him either way.
You mentioned 2008. All right, here's the question for you, Joe.
Okay.
Republicans are in the exact same position that the Democrats were in 2008 when President Obama was elected and there was a Democratic Congress. So what would you like Democrats to do right now in Washington? Either your choices are, as Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate leader, said, the single most important thing we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president. Or what Hillary Clinton said today, Donald Trump is going to be our president, and we owe him an open mind and the chance to lead.
And I know that was Hillary Clinton who said that,
Right.
and that was a very gracious concession speech. And I will tell you that our country is obviously divided. You could tell that from the results yesterday. And I think as a country, and I think what you could expect from Donald Trump, and I think very early on in his administration, even the first 100 days, what you'll see him do is reach out to Democrats. Here's a guy who wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. I think what he's going to do is he's going to be a results-driven president, and he's going to bring people to the table, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, to work on some of the country's problems. And I don't think he cares who takes credit, but he wants to move our country forward. And that's something Obama didn't do, though. He didn't bring Republicans to the table. He strictly wanted to do, he said, Obama's words were elections have consequences, this is what we're going to do. That's not what Trump says. Trump wants to bring people together, negotiate the best deal for the country, and move us forward. So that's why I think Donald Trump is going to be an inspirational type president. I think he'll be the best president we've ever had.
The question is, what do you think and hope the Democrats' response should be? Should it be what Mitch McConnell said, the single most important thing we want to achieve is President Trump be a one-term president, or do you want them to do what Hillary Clinton said today, have an open mind and a chance to lead?
Hillary Clinton said the right thing. What Mitch McConnell said, that's why people hate politicians in D.C. That's why Trump resonated with the people. Drain the swamp that is in D.C. These political elitists think that they know everything, and what happens is the average person is the one who gets the least amount of
So you're saying the
success.
Republicans had the wrong goal back in 2008?
I do. I think everybody, but it works both ways. You have to have two sides that want to come to the table. The last president that was really successful, Bill Clinton. He forced the Speaker of the House and the Senate President to come to the White House. He talked to them twice a day, Newt Gingrich will say, and to come up with some of these solutions to some of these issues that they were facing at the time. That's what we need now. We need politicians less concerned about making political points with their base, and we need them to come together to solve some of these issues. And it has to be everybody, and I think that's what Donald Trump will be able to do.
Well, and I think Donald Trump's biggest problem when he goes to Washington isn't going to be the Democrats. It's going to be the other Republicans. I mean, if you look at some of his issues now, he spoke an economic populism that appealed to some Democrats because those issues, admittedly, were Democratic issues. He wants to rebuild infrastructure. Democrats are for that. Typically, Republicans call that, wasteful government spending. We call it an investment, and that was one of his planks. So, I mean, I see Republicans being his bigger problem and not Democrats.
Well, I mean, should the stated goal of Senate and House Democrats in Washington be to make sure that Donald Trump is a one-term president?
Their stated goal should be to do what's best for this country, because that's the message that came from this past election, and that includes ideas. And it's going to start, I got to push back a little bit against what Zach was saying, because the Democrats can win elections in Sarasota, but they have to talk about ideas that resonate with local people.
So, Zach, hold on one second. Zach, what do you think is going to happen?
Unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of incentive in our political system right now for compromise. The Democrats and the Republicans are guilty of this. If you compromise, your base thinks that you're weak, and they go after you. You get attacked in primaries. You saw this with Republicans. Even when they stood up to Obama, if they didn't shut down the government, then they were weak, and they got attacked. I mean, and Democrats do the same thing. I think there's going to be a lot of incentive for Democrats to block Trump at every pass, and I think that it's going to be more of the same, unfortunately.
Joe?
I just want to say that when going back and talking about these local races, one of the main reasons why Republicans are so successful is because of the success of the elected officials themselves, which mainly are all Republicans across the board. Barbara Ford Coates was the one exception yesterday. She was a Democrat. She's had a pretty good record of service in the community. That's why she won. Republicans have consistently done a great job. And think about the hospital board, which Kevin mentioned earlier. You're talking about one of the best public hospitals in the entire country, and we wanted to go ahead and gut the governing board. Now, that to me, that seems almost, it's like saying we want to dismantle the Cubs after they won the World Series and get a better team.
I have two quick questions for you, Joe. Number one, to Kevin's point, the other day, John McCain, who's a hero to many people here on the Suncoast, wouldn't even mention Donald Trump's name. Number two, Mitch McConnell was asked today about funding for the wall, and he won't even go there.
Well, the issue with some of these political elitists in D.C. is they still haven't gotten the message. What Donald Trump did yesterday was it was a culmination of the movement that he created, and that he's going to take to D.C. Listen, they're not going to they don't have to work with them if they don't want. Democrats don't have to work with them, but ultimately I think they will, because I think Donald Trump has been given the power by the voters to go up there and to do things that are going to make the tough decisions that are going to get this country back on track.
Are you predicting that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan will bring bills to build a wall to the floor?
Either they will, or they'll be replaced and somebody else will do it.
Quick question. The world is your oyster. Do you take your seat in the floor of the House, or are you hoping, and Lord knows you put Donald Trump on the map here, is there a place for Joe Gruters in the Trump administration?
Well, I will tell you that my bags are packed for Tallahassee, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to the voters of Manatee and Sarasota for voting for me.
Answer the question.
You never know what life is going to bring. My bags are packed for Tallahassee. I'm going up for the orientation next week, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Let's leave it there from now, but we have more coming up. We have to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll have final thoughts with our guests, plus comments from some of our viewers about the election. Welcome back. It was a night of victories for Republicans across the nation and Florida. How will the Democratic Party change after the loss? How will the Republican Party change under Trump's leadership? Our guests join us now with final thoughts. Zach, what's your takeaway?
I think that a lot of people discounted Donald Trump, and he proved all the critics wrong. I mean, he upended the politics as we know it, and I think that it was really a remarkable campaign, and I'm not sure that people like me will ever feel comfortable predicting what's going to happen in politics in the future.
Kevin, after 2012, the Republican Party did that autopsy, which I don't know if Trump really kind of read it. But what do you do now?
I don't think we overreact, actually. Sometimes you run really good races and you don't win. I thought Fred Atkins ran a really good race. He didn't win, but we're going to, like I said, bring ideas to the people of Sarasota and listen to them. And we're going to be around. We're going to hold our public officials accountable. I mean, that's why we're here.
Joe, what are you most concerned about?
Well, the Democrats raised a ton of money here locally. They were trying to field a farm team for future races, and what we did is we essentially pushed them right off the cliff in all their efforts.
What are you concerned about now with the new Trump administration?
I'm concerned about maybe the gridlock in D.C. and his ability to get things done. But I think that Donald Trump,
you control both houses of Congress.
The guy that wrote The Art of the Deal, I think is going to go up to D.C. with a new mindset and a mindset to be result-oriented. And I think he'll get things done. And I think he's going to put America back on track. He's going to make America great. And we're going to start winning again on all levels. It's going to be a great 4 years with Donald Trump as our president.
And Joe Gruters will be part of the administration in January or not?
Cross your fingers. Hopefully I make it to Tallahassee. Well, who knows? We'll see.
All right, I want to thank you all for being here. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of you are saying about the results of the election. Donald Trump claimed victory in a speech to supporters earlier this morning. Later in the afternoon, Hillary Clinton spoke to hers, conceding the election to her opponent. Here is what some of you are saying about her speech. William Murphy writes, "Now Mrs. Clinton must get her trial, and anyone who is found to have participated in a cover-up must get a trial as well." Chris Durkin writes, "Classy woman, but Voldemort will never be my president. Everything he stands for is grotesque. And Lori Dysart writes, first time I have clicked like on one of her speeches. Let's unite, not further divide our country. God bless America. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They are available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight. Zach Anderson is the politics editor for the Herald Tribune. Kevin Griffith is the vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party, and it's his wedding anniversary tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Layla.
And Joe Gruters is our new representative in the Florida House District 73. He's chairman of the Republican Party of Sarasota County, vice chair of the state Republican Party, and we'll see what happens in the future.